Deputy Leader of Reform. Hello, good to see you.
Hello, very good evening to you.
Good evening. I remember chatting to you just a couple of weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago. Wildest dreams coming true?
Well, absolutely. Look, if this is right, it really is an historic night to win 13 seats for a start-up party. And as I discussed with you, we're only 4 years old. So that would be an incredible result for us, actually. But also, what we're looking for is not just the number of seats, but also the vote share. And we believe that our vote share is much higher than the Liberal Democrats. We believe it's double that of the Liberal Democrats. And we believe, even though that is the case, we will actually get only a quarter of the seats. And therefore, if that is true, then people around the country will be saying our political system is broken and first past the post simply isn't fit for purpose.
OK, I just wonder how you might feel, and we chatted about this at the time a couple of weeks ago, David Bull, about your party splitting the vote with the Conservatives, and as a result, a lot of Labour seats, a lot of voters deciding that Labour would be the best for their constituency, and putting forward plans which you wholeheartedly disagree with.
Well, I mean, I think the Conservatives managed to split themselves in half. As you know, it's not one party, it's 5 disparate parties pulling in different directions. We went out there with a contract for the people. It was really positive. It was fully costed. This is what we put before the electorate, and they like what we said, and that's why we have so many votes. But I think the whole point about this is the beginning of a movement. This is a ground-up movement, as I said to you before. This is a political revolt. It's also a 5-year plan. If we can go from nothing 4 years ago to winning 13 seats, imagine what we can do in 5 years' time. And I think that's the really exciting message to people around the country.
David, it's Beth Rigby here. I saw Nigel Farage at your big rally over the weekend. He had in the past talked about a reverse takeover of the Conservative Party. Now he says he doesn't want anything to do with them. What about you?
Well, look, I think once the dust settles and we realise how many seats we've won, we will then reassess the situation. Look, the point is the Conservative Party simply isn't Conservative anymore, and we're offering a far more Conservative offering to people who naturally might have been Conservative voters. So we need to look at that. But I think actually what we'll see is more people coming across from the Conservative Party to us. I've heard also anecdotally people Tory voters went to the polling stations and stood there and were about to put a cross in the Conservative box and thought, I just can't do this, and voted for us. I think a lot of that has happened around the country. Also, the shy reformers. So when the pollsters ask people, how are you going to vote, they don't necessarily tell the truth. And we saw that, as you remember, Beth, in the Brexit referendum result, where actually I think the political classes were caught completely off guard by the result. And we're seeing it again.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, David. Why do you think people don't want to say that they vote reform?
Well, I think the thing is that actually it's no one's business but the individual concerned. But I think also because the connotation sometimes... Well, you and I spoke about this the other day, that the connotation sometimes from other people is, oh, you can't possibly vote for that party. Actually, we're a common sense party that believes in low tax, low regulation and high growth. We also say that immigration needs to come down. And there's the resonance for people around the country.
Is it not something... Sorry, let me just ask this, Beth. Is it not because potentially some of your candidates for Reform UK have talked about the country would have been far better off if it had taken Hitler up on its offer of neutrality?
Well, Kay, you know as well as I do, the election caught all political parties off guard. As you know, we had to expedite the process to get 620 candidates. Look, I said we will not tolerate any homophobia or anti-Semitic abuse or Islamophobia. And once we find any of those candidates who behaves in a really inappropriate manner, they are out of the party. Now, in the cold light of day, once again, once we regroup, then obviously we will then thoroughly vet every single candidate going forward. But we're 4 years old. We're 4 years old. We're an start-up party, aren't we? And so I'm really thrilled with what we've done, and that's thanks to Richard Tice, who has kept the party going over the last 4 years, and also Nigel Farage, who, as you know, he can attract an audience.
David, can I just go back to what you said about reassessing whether or not you would do some sort of tie-up with the Conservatives or reverse taker of whatever it might be? When you look at that potentially having 13 seats, does that change the game for you in terms of how you think reform might influence the future of Conservative politics in this country?
Yes, I do. I think it caught the Prime Minister. I mean, the Prime Minister was trying to swat us away like we were an angry fly, and he thought that actually if he attacked us the whole time, then we would disappear and not get any seats at all. But actually quite the reverse has happened. So the more they attacked us, and I will include some of the press here as well, the more they attacked us, our support rose because there is a sense of British fair play. And I think the British people didn't like what was going on. Now, I think as we go forward, it's also possible that those people who see themselves as Conservatives will naturally come across to us. So we have to see, and time will tell.
Indulge us, David, if you was. Here comes some quick-fire questions. Trevor, to start with.
You said you're a movement, but actually, you're a one-man party, aren't you?
No, we're not.
Till Nigel Farage came back, you were nowhere.
Oh, don't be ridiculous, Trevor. Absolutely ridiculous. It's been me and Richard Tice for the last 4 years. We've got some great candidates there. We're going to see Ben Habib doing hopefully very well in Wellingborough, Rupert Lowe in Great Yarmouth. We've got amazing candidates all over the country. And Nigel is the icing on the cake. He's the great performer, and that's what we needed.
Have you told him that that's what he is? Is just the icing on the cake?
I tell him that all the time.
Ruth?
Ruth Davidson. The exit poll suggests that 3 of your 13 seats will come from Labour, including Barnsley North, which is Dan Jarvis. In terms of your own internal work, does that sound right to you?
Yeah, it does actually. So we thought we were taking Conservative voters, but also Labour voters as well. And of course, these are the Brexit-supporting heartlands of the United Kingdom. So the Red Wall, I think, very much coming over to Reform UK. As you know, I was an MEP in the northwest of England. I think many of those seats may well come over. And so this is actually appealing across the political spectrum and saying this country is broken and this country needs reform.
We are going to have to let you go in just a moment or two. I just wonder how you are. You know, it's great on the night, and I'm sure we'll hear from your leader throughout the course of the evening. But, you know, unless you work with another party, you've got 13 seats, potentially.
Well, I think also we're the true voice of opposition. We'll see what happens. But with people like, if Nigel gets in, if Richard gets in, if we have great
if you look at our exit poll.
No, but the point I'm trying to make is actually there'll be a new voice in Parliament, and also we will see how the political system shifts. I think the Conservatives are destroyed. I think that party will be no more going forward. And I think you're going to see
10 times your
very
seat. Calm down. It's a good night for you. It's not a brilliant night. Calm yourself, will you? Don't get carried away.
Well, let's just go back. Let's go back. A couple of weeks ago, if you'd said we will get 3 seats, I would have been ecstatic. So to get 13 is extraordinary.
It's still 10 times less than the Tories, potentially.
Well, we're 4 years old. They're hundreds of years old, and you should know better, Ruth.
So is it going to take you hundreds of years to get to the same number?
No, of course it isn't, Kate. Absolutely not. We're going to do it in 5 years.
Okay, oh, right.
130 in 5 years.
Yeah, 2029.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Okay,
2029, you'll see Nigel as Prime Minister.
Yeah. Would you like to take a small wager on that?
Yep.
Okay, how much?
We'll talk privately.
Hang on a minute.
Will he be the leader of the Conservatives or Reform? That's my question.
I've actually given up my job as a fortune teller.
Have you? Yes. It's good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Really good to talk to you.
Thanks.